welcome to Choosing Plants. My name is Heather, and this is the channel where I try various vegan challenges to see what is maybe the healthiest or best vegan diet out there. So far, I have tried the 30-day rice diet challenge from Dr. Kempner, and I have also tried the SOS free challenge, which did not go well for me. And just to play around and be fun, I did the rainbow or the color diet. That was actually kind of cool. That was only for 5 days, though. That wasn't a 30-day challenge. That would be challenging to do for 30 days, I have to say, to eat the same color of food. Orange would be really tough for me, actually. Anyway, so this 30-day challenge is going to be intermittent fasting. So for those of you that don't know a lot about intermittent fasting, which I actually do know a fair amount about intermittent fasting because I have been interested in it for a while, so I've been looking up information about it. A lot of the information that I have gained has been from the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California, just looking at their research, looking at some of the information that they have. So basically, when you have intermittent fasting, you've got an eating period and a fasting period. So basically during those fasting periods, you just don't eat anything at all. Or if you do, it would be like water with a lemon in it, or black coffee or black tea or something like that. So just to clarify, there are definitely different ways of doing a fasting. There's some of the more popular ones. There's 3 that are really pretty popular, and there's for intermittent fasting, not straight fasting where you just aren't consuming anything, or juice fasting where you only consume juice for a certain set amount of time. So the first one is called the 16-8 method. It's also called Lean Gains because I guess that's a person that made this really popular online. I don't know. Anyway. But basically, what that involves is just restricting the time frame on which you can eat. So you go for 16 hours without eating, and then you have an 8-hour window where you can eat. Now, if you're not vegan, I would assume that means you could eat whatever it is you normally would eat. And then if you were like myself and you're whole food plant-based, you just eat normal foods that you would normally eat. You just restrict it to that 8-hour window. So that's one method. There's also a method that's called the Eat, Stop, Eat method, which is not very scientifically termed, but basically you eat normal, just whatever you would normally eat, and then for 24 hours you don't eat anything. And then you eat normally again, and then for 24 hours you don't eat anything. And usually I do that fasting period either once or twice a week. And typically from what I've seen online when I looked at it, it was like you would stop eating at noon one day and then you'd resume eating at noon the next day. I don't think that sounds overly pleasant. I don't think I really like that idea. The next option for intermittent fasting actually might be okay. I'm not 100% sure. But it's called the 5-2 diet. And basically, 5 days of the week, you eat just normally like you would. And then 2 days of the week, you restrict your caloric intake to 500 or 600 calories. So in that 24-hour period, that's how many calories you would eat, and you don't do that 2 days in a row. So in a 7-day period, you break that apart. You don't do 2 straight days of 500 or 600 calories. You would do it like on a Tuesday and a Friday or something along those lines. So basically all of these methods are equally effective from what I've seen. I don't see that one is all that much better than another. I think that I'm just going to try the 16-8 method where you fast for 16 hours and then you eat in an 8-hour window, which honestly might be a little bit of a challenge for me with my work schedule the way that it is. I think that I have figured out that if I want to do the 16-8, that I can eat from midnight till 8 a.m. and then, and then just come home and do school with my boys like I normally would, go to bed, get up and it depends on the day, get up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and then not eat until midnight, which would be, if you got up at 6 o'clock and you didn't eat in the morning and you didn't eat until noon, I mean, that would be normal for people that skip breakfast. The only problem is I'm not used to skipping food. Like normally I eat like every 4 to 5 hours because I'm hungry, so I do. So that might be a little bit of a challenge. We'll have to see how that ends up working out. I'm not 100% sure about that. So the reason that I wanted to try this, basically, there's a lot of different things that they say that intermittent fasting is supposed to be really good for, and I'm not really, I mean, there's research out there that shows that it's good for that, so, you know, I guess that we're going to go ahead and try it. But so basically, the first thing is that it makes the insulin that your body naturally produces on its own, your body becomes more sensitive to it, and you will stop producing as much insulin. So basically, if you have less insulin production and less insulin release, then you are going to store less fat. Just straight up, that's how that works. It's supposed to also potentially alter the way that genes repair themselves and the way that they express themselves. So if you have periods where you're not consuming if you have a longer period where you're consuming fewer calories or no calories at all, that actually gives your body a chance to repair itself, and it actually gives it a chance to, what they have shown is that people that eat fewer calories in a 24-hour period or have a period of fasting, it actually increases their lifespan. So I'm not doing this for an increased lifespan concept at all, because it's only a 30-day challenge, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And then the human growth hormone, supposedly your human growth hormone will increase when you're in periods of fasting, which will then cause you to lose more fat and gain more muscle. Now, that gain more muscle part, I would assume that means you have to be working out in order for that to happen. I'm not planning on doing that because, I don't really exercise. So, not that I don't want to, and not that I don't think it's a good idea, because I do think it's a good idea. Just haven't gotten to that point where I'm really interested in doing that. So, according to Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who's also a big, strong proponent of leaving your body in what he calls the catabolic phase, which is the fasting phase for longer periods of time, it actually decreases inflammation and improves longevity. It initiates cellular repair, and then that whole change in the genes. So if you guys are more interested in more scientific-y type information, I would look up both True North and Dr. Fuhrman. Dr. Fuhrman has some interesting things to say about that. So from the studies that I have seen online and the things that I've looked at, basically this whole intermittent fasting would be something very similar to what we have done a long time ago when food was not available in a grocery store all the time, and there were periods of cold weather where you just didn't have as much food as you would like to have available for everyone. So this is a completely natural and normal way of eating, but it's got I have a sheet printed out in front of me actually that for this section that I wanted to talk about the benefits of intermittent fasting, and I didn't want to forget any, so I have the sheet in front of me. But basically, weight loss, so obviously that would be a goal of anyone that's like me, that's overweight and can't really seem to get that scale to budge any further. So that would be nice. Insulin resistance, if you have problems with insulin resistance, like a type 2 diabetic, it could be protective against type 2 diabetes, and it might actually help you improve your response to when you eat food and you are already diabetic. I don't have any problems with my blood sugar whatsoever, never have. In fact, my blood sugar tends to run on the low side rather than on the high side. So it has shown that fasting will decrease markers of inflammation, and I'm sure you guys are aware that inflammation is one of the key factors that causes almost all chronic disease states. Just across the board, inflammation is a factor, and so this actually has been shown to decrease inflammation in the body. Okay, let's see. The next one is reducing LDL cholesterol, blood triglycerides, inflammatory markers, blah, blah, blah. So basically what the point is on that one is that all of those things are markers for heart disease. And so if you're decreasing all of those things, then the chance of you developing heart disease is actually significantly reduced. Cancer, it says animal studies have shown that fasting will help reduce the risk of developing cancer. It doesn't say why. There's not a mechanism listed. So, if you wanted to do more research on that, I'm sure you could get on PubMed or something like that and look that up and see what the intermittent fasting, like I said, I'm doing intermittent fasting, not water only fasting, not juice only fasting. It does say also that intermittent fasting increases a brain hormone called BDNF, and that particular hormone, from what I remember, is one that is protective against Alzheimer's. So I don't know why intermittent fasting increases that particular hormone expression, but anything that could protect me against not being able to use my brain later in life sounds good to me. So anyway, it also says that the whole intermittent fasting can expand lifespan, and so they have shown that people who, without a doubt, that do intermittent fasting, that they are living longer and healthier. So, like I said, this is a 30-day challenge. It's not going to prove that I'm going to live to be 102 in a healthy state, but I mean, I'm already fairly healthy in my opinion anyways, based on the fact of the foods that I choose to eat. So there's not going to be any restrictions of what I eat on this particular, if it's vegan, I shouldn't say that. If it's whole food plant-based, I tend to eat it. And the reason that I qualify that is because I try not to eat any oil. There will be occasions where if we're making food for the whole family and I put some day of cheese in something, that I might probably still eat it anyway, but it's because the kids wanted it, blah, blah, blah. My kids are just ridiculously healthy, and so if they want to have a little bit richer foods, I don't typically stop that at all. In fact, not all of my kids are vegan, to be honest with you. Not all of them are whole food plant-based. But that's just something that we deal with on a daily basis in our house, is that we try to consume as many vegetables as possible. My husband and my mother and I are all whole food plant-based. I have a daughter that is completely whole food plant-based as well. And then one of my boys he'll eat what his brothers will eat if that's what we're serving, but he would prefer to eat a salad. So I don't think you can get enough calories in a little dude to grow correctly on just eating salad. So obviously we feed him a huge variety of food, but that is probably his absolute favorite thing to eat, is a really big plate of salad. He's a good kid. So anyway, today is day 0. Tomorrow we're going to start intermittent fasting, and we're going to do the 16-8 method. So going to do 16 hours of fasting, or the catabolic phase, and 8 hours of feeding, or the, I think it's anabolic phase. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think so though. Anyway, I have to say that I don't think this is going to be difficult on the days that I'm working my night shift, and I don't think it's going to be difficult on the weeks that I'm off, but I work during 2 of those days on Wednesday, Thursdays on my off week. I don't think it'll be difficult to do, but the transition days might be really difficult, because I don't know how you transition from working at night and eating from midnight until 8 a.m., but then the next day is technically the next day, and I would normally eat from 10 until like 6 p.m., 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think that's what I've decided for my weeks off. I don't know how you transition that at all. So I'm going to have to think about that. But for now, wish me luck. I'm super excited about this, actually. I think that this might be a really good method for getting my weight back under control. I've been not eating the healthiest diet lately. When I'm not on my little 30-day challenges, in between those things, I tend to get some things in me that I really shouldn't have, and that's not super, super healthy. So this is going to be a good challenge. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have already done this challenge, if this is something that you do on a regular basis anyway and it works really well for you. Also, let me know what you think, that if there's any hints or things that I need to know when I'm doing this that might make it a little bit easier, or if you have ideas about transitioning from one week to the next in terms of going from one feeding fasting window to another where the two just don't overlap at all. Maybe I'll just skip a day. I don't actually know what I'm going to end up doing. So that is that, and I am going to go think about what I'm going to be doing for the next few days in terms of getting this diet started, and wish me luck. I will talk to you guys again soon.